Hello again, sixth graders. Today we're going to determine with and without computation whether a quantity is increased or decreased when multiplied by a fraction including values greater than or less than 1.
When multiplied by a number by 1, such as 20 times 1 equals to 20, 5 times 1 equals 5, 365 times 1 equals 365, 0.25 times 1 equals 0.25. When you multiply by a factor of 1, the product will be the exact same number as the original factor.
Take a look at these examples. When multiplying 15 times 5, your product is 75. When multiplying 2 times 3, it equals 6. 33 times 3 equals 99. 14 times 10 equals 140. When multiplying by a factor greater than 1, such as 5, 3, 3, and 10, your product will always be greater than the original factors.
8 times 3 halves equals 12. 12 is greater than 8 because 3 halves is an improper fraction, and improper fractions are greater than 1.
When multiplying 24 times 7/4, your product is 42. 42 is greater than 24 because 7/4 is also an improper fraction, and improper fractions are greater than 1.
1 times 5/4 equals 1 and 1/4. 1 and 1/4 is greater than 1 because 5/4 is an improper fraction, and improper fractions are greater than 1.
When multiplying 12 times 1 and 2/5, your product is 16 and 4/5. 16 and 4/5 is greater than 12 because 1 and 2/5 is a mixed number that is greater than 1.
35 times 1 and 3/4 equals 61 and 1/4. 61 and 1/4 is greater than 35 because you multiply by a factor of 1 and 3/4, which is greater than 1.
When multiplying 7 times 2 and 2/7, the product is 16. 16 is greater than 7 because you're multiplying by 2 and 2/7, which is a mixed number that is also greater than 1.
8 times 1/2 equals 4. 4 is less than 8 because you are multiplying by a factor less than 1. 1/2 is less than 1.
When multiplying 24 times 3/4, the product is 18. 3/4 is a proper fraction that is less than 1. Therefore, your product of 18 is going to be less than the original factor of 24.
125 times 2/5 equals 50. 50 is less than 125 because you multiply by a factor of less than 1. 2/5 is less than 1.
When multiplying 10 times 7/8, the product is 8 and 3/4. 8 and 3/4 is less than 10 because you're multiplying by a proper fraction, 7/8, that is also less than 1.
35 times 3/5 equals 21. 21 is less than 35 because you're multiplying by a factor of 3/5, and 3/5 is less than 1.
When multiplying 2 times 1/10, the product is 1/5. 1/5 is less than 2 because you're multiplying by a factor that is less than 1. 1/10 is less than 1.
When multiplying a number by 1, the product will be A, greater than the number being multiplied, B, less than the number being multiplied, or C, equal to the number being multiplied?
The answer is equal. But multiplying by 1 means that your product will be equal to the number being multiplied.
When multiplying a number by a factor less than 1, the product will be A, greater than the number being multiplied, B, less than the number being multiplied, C, equal to the number being multiplied.
The answer is B, less than the number being multiplied. When multiplying by a factor less than 1, the product will be less than the number being multiplied.
When multiplying a number by a factor greater than 1, the product will be A, greater than the number being multiplied, B, less than the number being multiplied, C, equal to the number being multiplied.
The answer is A, greater than the number being multiplied. When multiplying a number by a factor greater than 1, the product will be greater than the number being multiplied.
When multiply a number by 1, the product will be
equal to the original factor.
When multiplying a number by a factor less than 1, the product will be
less than the original factor.
When multiplying a number by a factor greater than 1, the product will be
greater than the original factor.
Examples. 3/7 times 11 is
less than 11 because 3/7 is a proper fraction that is less than 1.
24 times 8/5 is
greater than 24 because 8/5 is an improper fraction that is greater than 1.
124 times 1 is
equal to 124 because when you multiply by 1, your product is equal to the original factor.
95 times 1/5 is
less than 95 because 1/5 is a proper fraction that is less than 1.
3/5 times 205 is
less than 205 because 3/5 is a proper fraction that is less than 1.
69 times 1 1/5 is
greater than 69 because 1 1/5 is a mixed number that is greater than 1.
362 times 1 is
equal to 362 because you're multiplying by a factor of 1.
325 times 11/8 is
greater than 325 because 11/8 is an improper fraction that is greater than 1.
789 times 7/8 is
less than 789 because 7/8 is a proper fraction that is less than 1.
789 times 8/7 is
greater than 789 because 8/7 is an improper fraction that is greater than 1. Choose the correct answer for each expression, then turn it in to your teacher.